The moment the betting odds dropped, fans did a double take. Ilia Topuria, a -400 favorite. Charles Oliveira, a former world champion, was pushed all the way to a staggering +285 underdog. Let that sink in. This isn't some new prospect with hype and no resume. This is Charles Oliveira, a man who's gone to war with killers, a man who tamed Justin Gaethje, who outclassed Michael Chandler, who's finished more opponents in UFC history than most fighters have even faced. And yet, the odds makers seem convinced. According to Vegas, this isn't just a competitive matchup. They're practically guaranteeing that Ilia walks away with a win. But here's where it gets wild. This isn't even the first time this has happened. The only other fight where Ilia was an even bigger favorite was against Jai Herbert. And in that bout, Ilia nearly got flatlined. So how did we get here? Why are the sports books, and by extension much of the MMA world, so confident that Ilia can leap into lightweight and dominate someone like Oliveira? Have people already forgotten who Charles really is? This isn't just a story about two fighters. This is a warning about what happens when hype runs too far and the fight game decides to humble someone. Because as confident as Ilia looks and as loud as his fans are online, there's a quiet storm brewing behind Charles Oliveira's eyes. And if Vegas is wrong, this might go down as one of the biggest betting mistakes in UFC title fight history. But that's just the beginning. When the lines opened, it wasn't just surprising, it was unbelievable. Ilia Topuria at -400? That's not favorite territory. That's dominant walk in the park, bet the house odds. To put that into perspective, for every $400 someone bets on Ilia, they'd only win $100. Meanwhile, anyone betting just $100 on Charles Oliveira would walk away with nearly $300 in profit if he pulled it off. That kind of spread isn't normal, especially not in a high-stakes matchup like this. Especially not when the underdog is Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira. This is only the second time in Topuria's entire career that he's been favored this heavily. The first, against Jai Herbert, another fight where Ilia came in confident, aggressive, and frankly, untouchable on paper. And yet, that's the fight where he nearly got turned off. A high kick from Herbert staggered him, and for a brief moment, fans saw Ilia humanized. Vulnerable. He recovered, sure. He rallied and delivered a brutal knockout that reminded everyone of his power. But the danger? It was real. And Jai Herbert, with all due respect, is not Charles Oliveira. So what are these odds really saying? Are the sports books just riding the hype wave? Is the public forgetting what Charles has accomplished at lightweight? Or is there something we're all missing? The gap in betting odds tells a story about narrative, about momentum, about recency bias. Because while Ilia is undefeated, hungry, and confident, Charles has already been here. He's already climbed the mountain and taken out monsters along the way. And yet, he's treated like a stepping stone. But numbers alone never tell the full story. Because Ilia's on the rise, but Charles? He's still in the storm. And storms don't go down easy. Ilia Topuria's rise has been nothing short of spectacular. He came into the UFC like a wrecking ball, aggressive, sharp, and relentless. The man doesn't just win, he finishes. Knockouts, submissions, pressure, he brings it all. And when he outclassed Alexander Volkanovski, a fighter many considered pound-for-pound #1, people stopped seeing him as a prospect and started calling him the future. But here's the thing, Charles Oliveira isn't just some hurdle on Ilia's path to glory. He is a former king. A man who built his throne on chaos, pain, and comebacks that left fans speechless. He didn't get to the title by coasting. He broke men, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson, and Michael Chandler. And he did it with a mix of razor-sharp Muay Thai, suffocating pressure, and submission skills that terrified even seasoned black belts. And now, Charles is bigger, stronger. This isn't the skinny featherweight who used to crumble under pressure. The version of Oliveira standing across from Ilia now is hardened, hungry, and heavier. At 5 feet 11 inches with a 74-inch reach, he's physically imposing at lightweight. And unlike Ilia, who's making just his second appearance at 155, Charles has lived in this division. He's adapted to its power, its pace, its pain. People love to talk about Ilia's discipline, his composure, his IQ. But guess what? Charles has all of that, and a bag of violence so deep, it swallows men whole. When he fought Michael Chandler, he got rocked, dropped, and came back to finish him. That wasn't luck. That was Oliveira's chaos. Ilia might be more calculated, but Charles is a hurricane in human form. And when that cage door closes, it might not be about precision. It might just be about who's willing to go further into the fire, and who's already been burned and learned how to walk through it. Every fighter has strengths. But every fighter, no matter how dominant, also has habits. And Ilia Topuria, he has one that could get him caught bad. Let's break this down. Ilia is, without question, a master of the pocket. Get close, let him rip combinations to the body and head, and it's game over for most opponents. He's like a storm in a phone booth, violent, fast, and overwhelming. But here's the issue. His success depends entirely on closeness. He doesn't fight well from the outside. He doesn't throw many kicks. He's not a jab and move technician. He's a pressure brawler with elite tools, but only in one specific range. Now, let's flip the script to Charles Oliveira. Charles doesn't need the pocket to be dangerous. He can hurt you from distance with snapping kicks to the head and body. He can trap your neck in scrambles. He can finish you on the mat or hurt you standing. There are layers to his violence. Ilia, he's got a straight line. And there's another issue, a critical one. Ilia drops his lead hand a lot. Go back and watch his recent fights. When he throws that rear hand, his opposite guard often drops, leaving his jaw exposed mid-combo. Against Herbert, it nearly cost him everything. Now imagine that same habit against someone like Oliveira, who specializes in punishing tiny windows. A left hook, a right elbow, a knee. If Charles times it right, it's lights out. The scary part? Charles doesn't even need to land flush. He just needs to touch Ilia enough to shake his rhythm. Because when Topuria loses rhythm, he gets wild. And when you're wild with Charles Oliveira, he wraps you up like an anaconda and ends the night. Fast. Let's not forget, Charles almost never needs to win round after round. He needs just a moment, one mistake, one dropped hand, and then the fight is his. The question is, will Ilia make that mistake? On paper, moving up in weight sounds like a win for Ilia. No brutal cut to 145. More strength, more power, and sure, he looks physically stronger than ever. His frame filled out, his traps popping, his arms thicker than we've ever seen them. But bigger muscles mean one thing, more oxygen needed. And in a 5-round war, oxygen is everything. Charles Oliveira has already proven himself at lightweight. He's gone 5 hard rounds, pushed through chaos, and kept firing. We've seen his cardio hold up under pressure, from Chandler to Poirier. He's conditioned for lightweight wars. Ilia? We don't know yet. Yes, Ilia is explosive. Yes, he's powerful. But what happens in round 4 when that explosiveness starts to fade? What happens when Charles drags him into deep water, like he did with Dustin and Tony? That's the gamble. Muscle mass doesn't win fights, recovery does. And Charles recovers like no one else. He can get dropped, smile through blood, and keep stalking forward. Ilia hasn't had to deal with that kind of chaos yet, not at lightweight. And here's the mental edge. Charles has nothing to prove. He's already been the champ. Ilia, he's risking everything. No belt, no backup, no safety net. If he loses this, he's not double champ. He's just a guy who left his kingdom and got humbled trying to take someone else's. Both Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira are pressure fighters. They don't wait. They don't coast. They walk forward, force mistakes, and capitalize in violent fashion. But here's the twist. When two pressure fighters collide, someone has to take a step back. And history shows the man who backs up first often loses. Ilia thrives when he's the aggressor. His pocket boxing, his body hooks, his relentless combinations, they all depend on him leading the dance. But what happens if Charles comes forward first? Because make no mistake, Charles Oliveira doesn't back down. We've seen him walk through Dustin Poirier's power. We've seen him absorb Gaethje's bombs, eat Chandler's right hand, and keep walking. And not just walk, but attack. If Charles pressures Ilia early, cuts off the cage, and keeps him on his heels, Ilia's game plan might fall apart before it even begins. And here's the thing, Charles doesn't pressure blindly. He mixes in teep kicks, elbows in the clinch, feints to keep you guessing. Ilia, for all his gifts, still relies heavily on rhythm. If that rhythm is broken, the storm starts to look less dangerous. This could become a psychological fight. Both men are used to dominating, but only one can do it here. And the moment someone realizes they're not in control, it gets ugly. And that might be the exact moment Charles strikes. Ilia Topuria isn't just moving up in weight. He's moving without a parachute. If he wins, he's the new face of the lightweight division. If he loses, he walks away with nothing. No featherweight belt. No dominant reign to fall back on. Just silence. That kind of pressure is heavy. It changes fighters before they even step into the cage. Ilia doesn't have the luxury of experimenting. He has to win. That desperation can be a powerful motivator or a crippling weight. And for Charles, this is just business. Another fight. Another chance to prove he's still that guy. He's fought with more pressure than this. He's lived in it. He's been called a quitter, wash, done, and came back stronger every time. That kind of mental fortitude is rare. And when you combine it with elite skill, size, and experience, You've got a fighter who's dangerous when underestimated. So what happens if Ilia finds himself behind after 2 rounds? What if Charles drags him into a gritty, clinch-heavy war where blood is flowing and fatigue sets in? Does Ilia have the mental durability to stay focused? Or will the pressure crack him? One thing's for sure, this fight will test Ilia in ways we've never seen before. While everyone's focused on Ilia and Charles, another storm is forming. Patchy Mix is here. For those who haven't followed Bellator, Mix isn't just another guy. He's the former champion, with only 1 career loss, and he's dangerous. Submissions, knees, long-range grappling. He's a 5 feet 11 inches bantamweight with a 71.5-inch reach. That's insane for 135. He's riding a 7-fight win streak. He's finished top-tier talent like Sergio Pettis, Kyoji Horiguchi, Magomedov. The list is real. And now, he's set to debut in the UFC against Mario Bautista. And stylistically, this fight favors Mix heavily. Mario Bautista's main weakness? Defensive grappling. Patchy Mix's greatest strength? Suffocating, limb-snatching ground control. Bautista can't stall this one out. He can't wall and grind his way to a decision. Mix is too long, too dangerous, too smart. The only question mark is ring rust. Mix hasn't fought in a year. But if he shows up in form, he's not just a fun addition to the roster. He's an immediate problem for everyone in the top 10. While the lightweight title picture is shifting, another matchup is quietly brewing, and it's violent. Arman Tsarukyan versus Justin Gaethje. And for Gaethje, this is a stylistic nightmare. Yes, Gaethje has improved his wrestling. Yes, he can defend a decent shot. But Arman isn't decent. He's elite. Relentless chain wrestling. Cardio that doesn't fade. And now, striking that's catching up. This isn't a bar fight. This is a chess match with knees. Gaethje's toughness is legendary, but his jiu-jitsu? Not so much. In fact, it's arguably the weakest part of his game. If Rafael Fiziev can crack you, what happens when Arman takes your back? Fans love Gaethje for the chaos. But chaos doesn't work when your opponent is glued to your hips. If this fight gets booked, and it's looking likely, it could decide the next title challenger. Unless Max Holloway shocks everyone and beats Justin Gaethje, then things get messy. But Arman? He's coming. And he's not here to take part. Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, Patchy Mix, Arman Tsarukyan. Everywhere you look, the lightweight division is heating up. The odds makers might see clear winners, but fans? We see chaos, danger, unpredictability. Topuria could dominate or get humbled. Charles could fade or spark a comeback that shuts the world up. And behind them, killers like Arman and Mix are waiting, sharpening their blades. This isn't just about titles. It's about proving who belongs at the top and who is only ever hyped to get there. When the cage door closes, the odds mean nothing. All that matters is the fight. And in this division, every fight could be the war that changes everything.